So I talked about this a bit in my, not the last video. It was like 2 videos ago, 3 videos ago, something like that at this point. I don't know. But I grew up on Sonic. My first ever video game was Adventure 2 Battle, GameCube. In fact, I'm going to tell you guys a memory that I have. I was playing Sonic Adventure 2 when I woke up one day because I had lost my first tooth, and I hid my tooth under my pillow like, kids do, waiting for the Tooth Fairy to come. And Tooth Fairy never came when I woke up. So I had told my uncle and my grandma about it because that's where I was at. I was at my grandma's house. And at this point, my uncle was 16, something like that. He was in high school. I know that. But so I told them that the Tooth Fairy never came. And I was in my room playing Sonic 2 on the Sonic Mega Collection. And I went to go use the bathroom. When I come back out, my uncle is like, Maya, there is this fairy that came through, and I couldn't believe that I saw it. And she put something under your pillow, and she came and talked to me, and she told me, shh, don't tell him I was here. It was hilarious because at the time I believed it. I was like 4 or 5 years old. I believed it. And when I looked under that pillow and saw my tooth was gone, I saw that $5 bill under there. Dog, I was so excited. Why did I tell that story? Just to tell you that I've been playing Sonic and even the classic Sonic games for a long time, okay? Damn, that was 20 years ago. I feel old. Goodness, I feel old. But so yeah, the point is I've been playing Sonic for a long time, and I did not beat the original classic games, like start to finish playthrough, until last year. When was this? When did I tweet this out? This was, damn. See, my track of time is awful. I could have sworn that was in like October, November. That was in August last year. So the tweet was, so I'm on the last zone of Sonic 1. Can't believe when I actually beat this game. This is going to be the first time I've ever finished a classic style Sonic game. And the crazy part is, I used to not like these games. I have loved this playthrough. What I learned about the Sonic series, like when I was going through with the Sonic 1 playthrough, is that I misunderstood gaming. And like the first time I noticed it was with actually Sonic Adventure 2. I was going through and I never had noticed this before. But I noticed 2 things when I was playing the game. One, when you play Sand Ocean, Dr. Eggman says something about these fools won't be able to find my base, right? And I never put 2 and 2 together that, like, the reason that they have the gun robots aggro different on different stages is that they're trying to communicate to you what's going on. So, like, when you're peeking around corners and gun robots are flying by all suddenly, it's supposed to emulate them searching for something. And they're searching for Eggman's base. You also see this when you play, darn, what is it? What's the stage name? The one with Tails. The one where you break into the base. Hidden Base. Don't know why I couldn't think of the stage name. When you play Hidden Base, it's the same thing. If you notice, once you get into the interior of the pyramids, so when you break down that first door, go into the interior of the pyramid, and then keep searching through the pyramids, right? Have you guys ever noticed you never see another gun robot after that? It's because they never found Eggman's base. All of your enemies turn into Eggman's robots. And that's supposed to indicate to you, like it's communicating with you what is going on in the story through the environmental elements. And that's all through Sonic 1. Like, as you get closer and closer to Eggman's base, you go through more and more city and robotic levels. And the thing about the world, the thing about that you learn about Sonic's world and the island that he's on, like, you go from the lush plains of Green Hills, and then you go into Labyrinth, and throughout what's like the hill zone name? Hold on, I'm gonna look up the Sonic zones so I can get these names right. Sonic 1 zones. Okay. Sonic 1 16-bit, yeah. Okay, you go through Marble, right? And then Spring Yard. Spring Yard is the one that I was thinking of. It's like Marble, Spring Yard, and Labyrinth are all like one big area. And like that was so cool to me when I noticed it. I was like, oh, these are all like a really big and like similar area that Sonic is going through. Like he went from Green Hill Zone and whatever that part was, and maybe even this part is connected to Green Hill Zone. Like Marble Zone may well just be like the inside of like a cave or something like that that's in there. But you see like the hieroglyphs, you see the bird totem poles, and then you see that imagery later on some of the wall patterns, you know? Like it's one of those things where it's like you see yourself once you understand that you're going through a progression, you're going through a story that hasn't been told like how we see in modern gaming or modern movies, but there is a story being communicated through the environment here. And then you get to Starlight Zone, and Starlight Zone is like the area where it's like, okay, you've gotten through the grassy plains, you've gotten through all the ruins and the whatever ancient civilization had to set up all of the stuff that you saw in all your other zones, and now you're in like this city area, but it's not really like a city, it's just where Robotnik is camped out. And it's you see it all get way more mechanical. Like through Labyrinth Zone into Starlight Zone, you see it getting more mechanical as it goes. You see the enemies getting more mechanical. You see them get more dangerous, frankly. Like, compare the enemies in Green Hill Zone to the ones in Starlight Zone. And especially once you get into, like, Scrap Brain Zone, you're on the inside of Eggman's base. Like, you got the Sizers. You got, like, you got those little crab enemies that have, like, the big old spikes on it. Like, it's like you're getting more and more dangerous enemies. You're getting, it seems like, less rings throughout it. And there's like, they're telling the story through the enemies. They're telling the story through the environment. They're telling the story as you're going through the game. You know what I mean? Like, there's a world here. There is like a history here of this little island that, like, we've set up that are supposed to be nothing more than stages that Sonic runs through, but there's a little more here, you know? And I think that's what makes it work. It's like, it's not just the gameplay, it's also once you get invested in the world, once you get invested in what you're doing, you know? Like, I actually like the fact that there are all these different gimmicks, because there's a difference between Sonic 1 and 2 in that Sonic 1 is trying to be a more standard platformer. Like, there is speed and momentum and keep on moving. But I think where people get it wrong is that, like, I don't necessarily think that's what Sonic 1 wants you to do per se. I think they encourage it in a way, but there is this focus on platforming. There is this focus on slowing down and exploring. There is this focus on taking this environment. There's this focus on when you get to open areas, you can use Sonic speed, but I don't know if the level design necessarily promotes that as the main focus of this game. And I think that's why Sonic 2 especially, Sonic 3 as well, but Sonic 2 especially is like regarded as the better game between them, because I don't necessarily think it's something that Sonic 2 brought to Sonic. The spin dash, yes, is a big jump up, but I think what changed between Sonic 1 and 2 was philosophy. Because Sonic 2, I found myself speeding through and having a way easier time, even though I'm not good at classic Sonic games, and you guys can tell by the gameplay in the background, because I'm probably playing Mania. I'm not good at classic Sonic games, but so I died a lot in Sonic 1. I took a lot of hits, you know, because like that's how I judge how good I am at it. Like, how much of the platforming can I do without messing up? How many times can I not take hits? How many times can I not die? That's how, like, and I think that's what the developers wanted you to feel. But I think the feedback in it was that more people just wanted to go fast. And I think Sonic 2, more than any other Sonic game I have played, allows that. Because the levels are so open, and the philosophy is don't slow down, get through this as quickly as possible. And then it's like, if you're not going to do that, we have some of the platforming that you were used to from the other Sonic game. But I'm just going to be honest with you guys, it's nowhere near as interesting or fun or communicative about the world. Like, I can't believe I am gonna say this, and most people are gonna disagree with me, I know, but I was very much like, I like Sonic 1 more than I like Sonic 2. I just like the direction that it was going. I don't think that it's like, I don't think there's a big enough difference between Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 to where it's like there's this monumental gameplay difference and this inherent just everything about Sonic 1 they improved upon in Sonic 2. I think they just shifted their gameplay focus direction and their level design direction in a sense to where most people enjoyed the shift in direction. But for me personally, I like the first game's direction more. I like the slower pace with the you can go fast in it. It's like, it's not necessarily that you have to, like, in that it's fully encouraged here. It's like you can go fast with this. You know, this is more about, this is a small little contained adventure. Sonic, Eggman. Eggman's capturing the animals on this island and turning them and using them for fuel for his robots. He's roboticizing the island, and Sonic has to stop him from this because he's hurting nature in the process of whatever he's trying to do for his own game. And that little adventure is contained in a world and in an island where there's obviously this rich history. There's these connected areas that Sonic is going through. You feel his progression on his journey from where he starts at, getting to Eggman's base. You can see his progression as he's getting closer and closer. The traces of Eggman are showing up more and more in the level design. You're getting further and further away from the green hills, no pun intended. You're getting further away from the caves where you saw the hieroglyphs and evidence of there being people here. Like in Labyrinth Zone, you actually go through, or not Labyrinth Zone, in Marble Zone, there's actually a part in Act 3 where it's like you literally have a water trap to where it's clear somebody set this up here. And it's like you may be mistaken for thinking it's Eggman, but I don't think it was, because there's really no evidence of Eggman throughout most of the stage. This is kind of just part of this island. And there's this trap set up here for pretty much anybody that would invade it. But it definitely triggered for Sonic. And if you're watching like an anime, you could think of this in terms of like that one part where it's like Sonic exploring this cave, and then all of a sudden this trap goes off and he's like, uh-oh, gotta run. And then you just see this little sequence where he's going through trying to, and he barely escapes, and you can see that going on in the gameplay. You know? You can see that being communicated. You get to the end, you get to the outside of Eggman's base, you get through that, you get to the inside, and then you finally fight him, and that's it. And it's this focus on exploring this area, platforming, destroying these enemies, getting to the end, using your speed to be able to get through some of these areas, the different level pathways that you can take. So if you are good at it, you can get through these stages a little bit faster. There's this balance here. And I think that there's a bit more platforming focus, because they knew that like the first time player is going to be going through most of this, not the top pathways. So there's this focus on like the bottom and the middle pathways where it's like, okay, this is where most players, especially on their first run through, is going to spend the majority of their time, because they're just not going to be that good at it. What is this experience like? You know what I mean? And I enjoy that approach more so than I enjoy the Sonic 2 approach of keep your speed, maintain your speed, get to the end. And I know that sounds so counterintuitive coming from a Sonic fan, but it's just, I think that's even why I like the adventure games more. It's the same kind of thing. I just like that. The reason I like platformers is not necessarily because of speed or momentum. That's part of it. I like movement. I like having the full control of my character. I like running and jumping. I like getting from place to place. But the reason I like Sonic a little more than I like Mario is because of the moveset. I think that's why I kind of like Mario Odyssey so much, because Mario Odyssey isn't necessarily Sonic-like, but it's just the movement. It's like, you know, you can choose the dash at any time. You can run and jump off Cappy, and, you know, there's all these things. There's all this parkour to it. You can roll down hills. You can, all of this stuff. I like that about Sonic. And so, like, you see it in Mario Odyssey, and it's no wonder that that's one of my favorite Mario games ever. It's the same thing with the Sonic stuff. I just like the freedom of movement. And that's why I think that Sonic 3 is so awesome, because I think Sonic 3 reeled back in some of the speed focus. It kept a lot of it, but it definitely brought back that balance that they were searching for with the first Sonic game. And I think Sonic 3 actually perfected it. I think Sonic 3 is my favorite of those games, because it's like there's this perfect balance between them being able to tell the story through the environment, them actually having cutscenes and having a story that you can follow, like even better told than the first game. There's this focus on the platforming and the storytelling element here. with a little bit more of that Sonic 2 portion of it, where it's like we have these big open areas where you can't just speed through them. There's a lot more of a balance. It's a reeled in balance from Sonic 2, and it's a push forward balance from Sonic 1, and I think it finds it right in the middle. And I love the story that it tells, and I love the environment that it takes place on. I love Angel Island. I feel like all the stuff that they were setting up, and if you guys know Pariah 695, he made videos about the entire Sonic series, and his theory was that like they kept retelling this story about the island and the Chaos Emeralds and the civilization, and he wasn't sure if they were all different stories or if they were the same story just being retconned and retold. I think they were trying to do a little bit of both. I think they were continuing on the story of Sonic and Robotnik and Tails and all of that, but I think that part of the story they were resetting. I think they were reset. I think Sonic 3 is like what they were trying to do with the story of Sonic 1, just like fully realized and fully focused on, and it was perfect, dog. It was perfect. And I have a totally different appreciation for these games and what they were doing, especially in the video game industry at the time. Like, even with Mario, and as great as the Mushroom Kingdom was, and as great as Mario 3 was, I think what Mario was trying to perfect at the time was more so what you can do with a platformer, you know? And I think that's why there's not, I think from the beginning, the Sonic franchise had what it was trying to do as a platformer. It was just trying to find its balance. What the Sonic team was more, it seems like to me, what they wanted to do was to be able to tell a story about this world and to cultivate this character and to make you care about this character and this world and the story behind this character and this world. And I think that is so, I think they nailed it, because I think that's the reason that Sonic sustained its popularity during its dark ages, because people cared about the story and the world. And it's one of those things where it's like, I hear people all the time say, well, I don't care about Sonic and its story. I'm just here for sometimes the character interactions, but more so the gameplay. I just want to go fast, and I think it was a wrong idea for Sonic to focus on heavily on trying to tell these grandiose stories. And maybe that's correct, but it's been trying to do that from the very beginning. Like, the original Sonic team with Takashi Iizuka and all of those guys, all of them from Sonic 1 were trying to get you to care about the world. They were trying to introduce you to storytelling through environment. They were trying to get you to introduce you to Sonic's wacky world. And they wanted you to care about that world. And they wanted you to care about these characters. And they wanted you to care about the story that they were trying to tell from day one. And when I played through Sonic 1 and I realized that, I became so, like, I was like, wow. Like, I see what they were doing. I see what they were doing. I see what they were going for. And I think it's so impressive, their ambition from day one. Like, I think they nailed it so subtly that most people miss it. And most people might not have even thought about it this way. But I could see it. And I don't think I'm reaching too deep into it. I think it's obviously there because I noticed all of this stuff just playing through it casually for the first time, and while I was realizing it, and while I'm talking to myself while I'm playing the game, I'm just getting more and more invested and having more and more fun. And like I said in the tweet, I couldn't believe that there was ever a time where I was like, I don't think I like these games, because now that I've played them, I love them. I love them. Like, I was very much one of those people where it's like, I like 3D Sonic. I don't really care about 2D Sonic that much. And that is not the case for me anymore. I love these games. I have, like, it from a fan of 20 years to be 23 years old and to find a brand new appreciation for the beginning of the series. It was just wild to me. I was very impressed. I was very blown away by the things I was seeing. And it made me appreciate the fact that gaming has been gaming, and the passion for stories and characters and all that gaming has been there since the beginning. And it's not something new, and it's, these people were creative from the very beginning. They were storytellers from the very beginning. They were world designers. They were crafters at this from the very beginning. It's been like this since the 80s, the 90s. All they needed was the technology to be able to see their visions come to more and more to fruition. And as you see the progression of that through video game history, you can see where they wanted to go from the beginning, where they ended up going, and you can judge it like, okay, can you see their motivations changing? Can you see their plans changing at this time? Can you see their minds turning? And I can. Because we know the future and what it turned out to be, we can go back and see the past and be like, okay, maybe if they didn't have this fully fleshed out, the inklings and the seeds of this were there from the beginning. And I can see that with the early Sonic games. I can see it, man. And I've always had a fascination with Sonic's, like, lore, mostly the adventure game lore, some of the comic book stuff. I always had an interest in, like, the designs of the classic stuff, but wasn't really that interested in, like, the stories, because I didn't really think that they had any. But especially after watching Pariah's videos on the story of Sonic and all the details that they included in, like, the manuals and stuff, it's like, yeah, they were definitely trying to communicate something here, and it's awesome. I love it. I love it. I'm in love with it. I found a new appreciation for it so much later, and this is the thing that I'm talking about with gaming, where, like, in that video I had about choice, you can go back to any era, and if you study the history, you will find out some things that you might have missed the first 20 years of your life, dude, and find, like, a new appreciation for stuff. And that's why it's so important that we preserve these things, and that we use our ability to go back and be able to interact with them as much as we can, because it matters. And to just dismiss it as, oh, that's the old stuff, we don't care about it, I think you'll be doing a disservice to the art that they were creating at the time. And the Sonic game showed me that. They definitely showed me that. So thank y'all for watching, man. I did not mean to yap for 30 minutes, but this is what I do, man. This is what I do. So yeah, I mean, if you want more of it, watch some of the stuff that I've been putting out over the past couple of days. Got some more videos coming up, so we got plenty more to yap about. Thank y'all for watching, man. Peace.